everybody. This is Dr. Jessica Emery for the Dental Diaries podcast. I am so excited to have Allison Lacoursiere with me today. I probably just botched your name. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. All right, you guys. So we've had like a full-blown like hour conversation before this one. But we have so much more to talk about, and I want to definitely like touch on some amazing things that we even just talked about prior to this. So just before we dive in though, I'm going to read a little bit about Allison. She is the creator of the Clear Aligner Systemization methodology, basically the Clear Aligner Queen Coach, which is so unique. I absolutely love it. And we're going to take a deep dive into that. Allison helps dentists and teams streamline efficiencies to increase both patient and practice satisfaction and health. A native Canadian, another Canadian, Allison moved to Bermuda at the age of 19 to work as a dental assistant and to seek adventure and try something new. She incorporated a system in that practice that generated $80K a month in clear aligner production. I read that to my husband this morning and he's like, what? That was a couple of practices. I'm like, no, it says one.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. With over a decade of dental practice experience, Allison is a sought-after mentor and speaker. She helps dental teams improve culture, increase production, and grow into their full potential. She is certified through International Professional Excellence in Coaching and is a member of the International Coaches Federation. Allison is a member of Toastmasters International. That's amazing. And has also trained with the Dale Carnegie Speaking Institution. She is a certified transformational trainer through Lionspeak. She is also super passionate about fitness and wellness. She is an active team member and competitor on the Bermuda national volleyball team. How cool. Allison is also certified as a personal trainer and yoga instructor. Oh my gosh. Her passion lies in empowering individuals to achieve their ultimate potential and life satisfaction. Oh my gosh. Okay. So where I want to start, because we just went right into like dental world stuff. So let's like step way back when to you basically working in Canada and then having this vision like Bermuda. Why, how? Tell us your story.
Definitely. So I was just like a child. Like my parents called me a tornado because I was just like, I wanted to do everything and like go everywhere. And so I chose dental assisting because I was like, that is the fastest way I can like go get a job somewhere else. And so when I was 18 years old, I was finishing dental assisting and there was a job opportunity in Bermuda. And I was like, yeah, I definitely want to take that. My parents were like, you're 18. Like, no, stay in Canada with us. But I applied for it and I didn't get it because in the Bermuda law, if a Bermudian applies, they automatically get the job over an expat. So for like 10 months, I worked in ortho practice, got my ortho certification and like became a ortho expert. And then I got the job in Bermuda. So I moved down in February when I was 19. My parents were not thrilled, to say the least. Like they were very nervous. I'd never been there. I hadn't traveled a lot. And it was probably the best decision I'd ever made because I really was always very adventurous. Like I hated the cold. I was constantly like, when I was 10 years old, I told my parents that I was going to move to like be a dolphin trainer in SeaWorld because it was warmer there. And they were, so when I left, they were like, we saw this coming. Like you were just always such an adventurous spirit. So I came into this practice in Bermuda and it's a fantastic practice. The dentists are amazing. They took me in, they trained me a lot. I became the manager at age 24 and was able to create a very like incredible culture in the practice and really get the clear aligners to a very successful level. So I've just learned so much and partially because I don't like to sit still. I'm constantly learning.
Right. Love it.
But it's really helped be able to kind of create these things.
Where did you get the clear aligners? Was that the ortho practice that you were in prior to moving to Bermuda? Is that where you like kind of really got the skill set on? Because obviously in ortho practice, would be more apt to produce aligners in office versus like outsourcing to Invisalign or whatever, right? I mean, I don't know about then or how old you are now, but there are so many, obviously, systems now, or you can make it yourself. Before there wasn't. It was just like Invisalign and then maybe Clear. I don't know, back in the day.
Yeah, there's a ton now.
Yeah.
But I learned like my basis of ortho in that ortho practice. And then when I moved to Bermuda, I just had a lot of interest in like changing the ortho systems, because like we were using Invisalign, we just weren't utilizing it like as much as we could have. And so my doctor actually like took me to the greater New York, and I would sneak into the doctor classes and learn, and then go and implement it back into practice. And so just kind of over time, I was able to create a system that was really, really effective and really profitable.
That's amazing. Have you always liked numbers? Are you a numbers girl, or?
I feel like I've never been a numbers girl, but I feel like I've learned to make numbers matter, because they matter so much to business owners.
Sure.
And so I found like in order to kind of like create value or prove value, I had to learn how to make numbers really matter.
Yeah, most definitely. In offices, I think a lot of teams are pretty blown away. I mean, we're extremely transparent in my practice with numbers. But I think, when they see what you have to produce a month, because of the overhead, it is mind blowing. It really is. So yeah, if you can find a way, obviously, I think in every practice, you're looking for ways to produce more without that overhead or lab fee per se, and in time, right? So clear aligners is something that does not take time, doctor time, really.
Yeah. I mean, if you're doing it right, which I find like a lot of practices, the doctor is doing a lot more than they necessarily need to. And so a big part of like what I do to help doctors is delegate and empower the whole system to the team.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And that creates like, it's amazing how it creates like a totally different culture. It creates like a fun environment. It creates a common goal, and it allows the team to like win at something collectively, because the hygienists are involved, the front desk is involved, the assistants are involved, everyone's involved in this like system. And so it makes like, it just transforms practices financially and like culture wise.
Do you recommend at all, and I know this is probably like practice to practice whether or not, but like implementing a bonus structure into that too, so like they really want to, they would have fun and want to do it, but if you can make it fun, since the doctor's not in it, it's like their own little business within the business, right?
Exactly. That's huge. And it really just makes it a lot more fun. It makes it more competitive, like in a good way. And like, if you're going to be working really hard for something, it's just human nature to be like, what's in it for me?
Sure.
And so when you can kind of like turn that into a really like positive thing that also aligns the team, and you can celebrate it, like the opportunities for celebration with that are huge. So yeah. Definitely.
That's amazing, because there is so much opportunity, certainly for me in my practice. Like I'm saying to people too, it's amazing to me when a lot of offices, even in their hygiene department, don't bring up those little things like the crowding, because one, for the bite, if teeth are crowded on the bottom, and I'm going to do veneers, for instance, on the top, like obviously that one that's popping out, like over time, everyone's bruxing today. I see it on almost everyone. With, like I said, everyone's racing through life, right? No one is relaxed anymore. And I think everyone's taking it out on their jaw and on their teeth. So, obviously proper alignment is going to set them up for success moving forward. And, but certainly like any cosmetic work I do, I'm so aware of that, if there's a tooth that's malaligned, like potential to chip that, that veneer and that kind of thing. So I'm always talking, when you start talking to patients about that, then they understand. But like, there's so many dentists that don't even think about it. Like they're like, sure, like they don't look at that. Or maybe they're afraid because they're like, oh my gosh, well, if they're paying $8,000 for veneers, like, oh my gosh, to have to tell them another $4. I will tell you, they do it every day, all day. They're listening to you to educate them, and they want to do it the right way, especially for success of cosmetic work to last a long time.
100%. And like, even like with our anterior implants, like any anterior work we do, if we see that there is a problem with the bite, or if like like if the doctor is like, best case is really you get ortho first, like I recommend that you get them to sign off that they said no. Because can you imagine, like personally as a patient, if I was never told that I could put my bite into a better place and then put this front tooth in a better position,
Right.
I would be so upset. I would be like, what do you mean? Like, I care about longevity. I care about my smile being healthy for life. And so I think it's really doing a disservice to our patients when we're not educating them, especially if we're not educating them because we're afraid that they're going to feel uncomfortable because we've recommended something that's like expensive.
Oh my God, no way. If anyone needs any implant anywhere, I'm like, you guys, once that implant is in bone, there's no ligament around it to shift that tooth anymore, right? So you want to get all of your teeth in place first, make that perfect space for that perfect tooth, and then drop it in and you're done forevermore. But yes, there's no going back, going back. And it is our duty to advise them of that.
I agree.
Sure.
100% agree.
Yeah, no, I'm a clear aligner. I'm definitely where I've been an Invisalign, person for a very long time. And I love it. And I have done it myself. And, if I could get into that whole clear, I have a good friend that does his own clear aligners, like makes them in house and all that. That would just be a whole nother thing for me. It's easier for me to outsource them. But we have several people in our practice. I was actually during COVID, just like dying because I was like, oh my God, the people in their aligners. Oh my gosh, that's actually something, now that I'm thinking of it. Do you do for like Propel or Excellident? Like, because that's another thing when you talk about costs and people in life, if you tell somebody that they can do it in a shorter time as well, they're going to be like, sign me up now. I had no idea.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, I definitely recommend accelerators if you're comfortable using them.
I think every dentist, I'm a dentist, get on board, do it. Every single person, every single one of my patients, except one that wanted to lose weight, that wanted to wear them longer because she was getting married and had plenty of time, has done it. And there's a fee for it. And they all add it on.
Yeah, no, I see it so often. Like even when I present like 6-month treatment, I'm like, like I would say like worst case scenario will be in these for 6 months. So I'm like, but you can accelerate. They're like, I will accelerate. I'm like, okay. I think we make a lot of assumptions, and our assumptions are sometimes like negatively biased that like our patients won't choose that because it's expensive. But again and again, we talk about people will pay for what they value.
Yes.
If they value speed and if they value a beautiful smile, they will pay for it.
Absolutely. 1,000,000,000%. Again and again. And like you said, that is an easy way at the end of the day too. We're doing a good service for our patients, but it's also like production for the practice. And it doesn't take much. I mean, my gosh, even one case a week, my gosh, is tremendous for overall production, even taking the lab fees out of it.
Absolutely.
So, I love that. So my gosh, where do we even go? So you started in that practice, you knew that you were good at creating these systems and then like realized you kind of loved creating the systems and coaching at that point. Is that when you went and sought out getting your, all these licenses you have so many for the coaching stuff?
To be honest, like I created such an incredible system with the clear aligners that my dentist was like, just do that with every other system in our practice. Be the manager. And so I was just like, I had no management experience. I was 24 years old. I was the youngest person in the practice. I was just like, oh my gracious. So it just really propelled me I went to the University of Toronto and I got a management certification, and it was really helpful. And I just kept like pushing myself to continue learning. And for me, like fitness and health was always like a priority, and I've always been a competitive athlete. So I was like, this is just something I'm really interested in learning how to like take really great care of my body. I got my nutrition certification. So I'm honestly just like an avid learner. Like I just constantly am learning and making it a priority. And so we actually hired a coach for our practice. We hired the Productive Dentist Academy. And I had this incredible coach who just like totally transformed my life. Like I thought I was learning and I thought that I was like on a track of like success until I had a coach myself. And then I was like, oh my gracious, like I can grow so much faster with a coach. And just like learning the communication, learning like the support, the accountability, I just I like blew up with my growth. And I was like, I need to learn how to do this for other people because it's so powerful.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So did you leave Bermuda to go back to Toronto then to school? Like you were in that practice and you decided you wanted to go back to school. So you went back home, like, and
So my dentist actually flew me back every single weekend.
oh my gosh, stop. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah. For a year, the course was, it was every second weekend. And then there was like a couple where it was like back-to-back weekends, but I flew to Toronto like that whole year back and forth.
Oh my gosh. To grow you as a human, that is that dental person office is tremendous. That is
Yeah.
to believe in someone and do that. I love that. Love it.
It's incredible. And so now like for me, it like when that was given to me, so now like I'm so passionate about growing other people. Like when I see like a very motivated, because I was so
Yes.
I was just like a very weird person. Like I was like had my goals, like I was so disciplined. And so he just
I
saw
love
that.
it.
He was like, okay, like I believe in you. Like you've proven that you are very, very goal oriented. So
Yeah.
he's like, go be our manager. And we had a lot of turnover prior to that. But when I came into managing, I hired a brand new team, and everyone on that team has been there ever since. And our production skyrocketed. We implemented tons of new technology, and we just really flourished. And I would say it's really the systems that I was able to kind of create around the goals that we had.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh. Are you still with that practice a little or?
Yeah, so I'm helping them now like get back into COVID. I still manage their Clear Aligner systems. And so we're implementing like technology that we can do it virtually. We're like making it really streamlined so
I
that we
saw
can
that on someone's yours or one of your clients. I saw that. It's just like, that looked really cool.
yeah, oh my gracious, like the technology and artificial intelligence that's now going to be available to monitor our Clear Aligner patients is going to change the game.
Oh my God. How do you, with clear aligners then, oh my gosh, well, because you're saying that like virtually, digitally, right? So that makes me think of I'm trying to think of the name and you probably know it, but like I was down in Miami for a course and and I just saw those pop-up shops, like pop-up
Mhm.
digital clear aligner places like everywhere down there. I forget the name of them. But as a dentist, it was just like, you know, immediately, obviously the fear in that is we know clear aligners work and would work absolutely, and minor crowding 1,000,000,000%. But if you don't have a dentist, someone looking at their bite, right? If there's decay, like rampant decay or periodontal disease, things like that, you know, for me, I'm like, how can someone just jump in and do that? And I actually had a patient come into me that had done it. She was like, oh, it's just, I have to do this, that, and the other in the cosmetic. And I just thought I could do that. And her bite, I mean, it was just like, oh my God, you know?
Yeah. No,
Um,
that is like such a good, like, and I'm happy you're asking this question because there's such a distinction. Like when we look at like the aligner companies that just like take a digital or take a functional impression that the patient's done, create an aligner series and send them out to the patient and be like, good luck. Like
yeah.
that's craziness to me.
Mm-hmm.
But when you can have like a patient come in, you establish the relationship, the dentist diagnoses, creates the treatment plan, the assistant is able to kind of like deliver the treatment, and then you can use artificial intelligence to monitor it with the doctor. Like you can create certain like cues for if you see something in this AI that it's highlighted and you get the patient in immediately. But the patient has to take a scan every single week at home for you to be able to see it. And so you get to watch their video and you get to like see their changing mouth throughout the entire process. But of course, somebody needs to be looking at that.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. Is that like are you guys developing that? Is it out there? I mean,
Yeah, it's dental monitoring.
Oh,
So I have a couple of my practices implementing it now because of COVID and like just the ability of not having to see the patient as frequently for aligner checks. But it definitely isn't like, here's your box and like, good luck. It's very like detailed scanning technology that allows you to really like see what's going on in the patient's mouth virtually and have the systems in place. Like if they see, it can pick up on like gingivitis and it'll flag you and you look at the picture and you're like, no, that patient needs to come in.
so the little gadget machine guy that you give them is obviously very costly.
It's about $48 a patient.
48? That's it?
Mm-hmm.
What? Stop it.
And you can cavicide them. I don't know. I haven't tried it, but
Oh my gosh. I was even thinking, you know, like they even came out with, oh my gosh, the V5 Pro.
yeah.
It's like $500 to buy. And like, okay, right? Like you've got all this stuff. Like that is a hard sell because just to seat the aligners more or whatever, I mean, the cost is so high. It's like to try to pass it on to a patient was insane. So I thought for sure, I'm like, you're talking about a digital scanner. I'm like, okay, how much is that on top of the bottom line cost wise? But that's nothing. So that's incredible.
Yeah. And then it's like $11 a month to monitor the patient. But again, like if you look at the numbers, like what is the cost of a chair turnover? What is the cost of the PPE now that you have to wear for a clear aligner?
Yeah.
Like what is the cost of like having your patients have to wait for when you can actually see them in the chair now because of these like new regulations? So for us, when we ran the numbers, it made sense to not have, like we are busting at the seams in the practice in Bermuda. So not to have the patients need to come in as frequently and only like monitor them very specifically. And if we see something, we bring them in right away. But it just helps us keep our patients out of the practice unless we need to see them. And then the digital monitoring that it does is extremely like detailed. Like you get to see the visual image of what's happening in their mouth over each week.
So you get enough of them, kind of like we get isolites, right? Like you just get a box of them and then you hand them out. So you send them out and then like with a video or something instructing them how to do it. And then it goes to your computer base and you get to watch it.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. And you can set up like automation. So like you can be like, if you see gingivitis, flag me. If you see an aligner not seating, flag me. If you see an attachment broken, flag me. So you'll get like all these notifications and be like, okay, what am I looking at? That patient needs to come in. That's fine. Definitely need to talk to them next time. And then you can send like an automated message to them, be like, hey, wear your liner for another week. It's not seated all the way. And like the AI will even tell them to keep their liner in for another week.
Because that was my question. I was going to say half the time with Invisalign anyway, like, I don't know. I think our people, they say they're wearing them and you're like, we can tell, you know, they really don't wear the full amount because they don't seep. They're not like, but you know that within a day, like they're going to fully seep, but you know what I mean? They're not 100, but it's not worth taking, you know, refinement impressions and sending them back and waiting more weeks. I'm like, you know what, here are some chewies and work on it, you know, but it's important. So I can see where that scanner would certainly pick up that people needed to work on, like, well, that it wasn't seating fully or something. And then,
yeah, exactly. It's like anytime you know somebody's watching you, you're like more accountable. So it's
right? Like, of course. That's true. I love that. So is your practice down in Bermuda then known as like the clear aligner practice? Like, I mean, so marketing wise?
We are very busy with clear aligners. There's another practice that has kind of like started to pick up as well. And so it's like two practices that like we kind of compete with each other, but like obviously like very friendly. Like I went down to the Invisalign GP Summit and like the other practice was there and we're like, hey, like so good to see you. So they have a much larger practice than us. And so they've kind of like started to pick up a little bit more with their Invisalign. But we're definitely like the top two practices on the island.
That's awesome. So you'll work with any clear aligner system then, Invisalign or any clear aligners basically?
Yeah, like I am most familiar with Invisalign, but the systems that I teach are very much like about kind of like the team-based, about like the appointment, like structuring, verbiage, like all of those things can be transferred to any clear aligner system to make it more successful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know even when it comes to attachments and stuff and then flagging for IPR when it's needed. I mean, yeah, if it's systemized, it's definitely can take so much time because it could take up all of your time, production time on the schedule if you were as a doctor seeing all those people, which is completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
But I mean, dentists are control freaks, right? So I think it's like, that's why we want to step in. I let that go a long time ago, because when you do have the right team member, you know, like my assistant's a rock star and I trust her implicitly, and she flagged me for anything. So, so she can kind of do her thing there, which is nice. But I mean, big believer in, have you needed clear aligners yourself? Have you worn them?
Yeah, I had braces. I was like the worst ortho patient in the world. Like I found ways to like take my arch wire out all the time. It was terrible. My mom was just like, oh my gosh. And so I had braces and I had a good result, didn't wear my retainer. And then when I got to Bermuda, they put me into clear aligners, which was, I mean, I feel like that's a great marketing tool as well.
It is, of course. Of course it is. Yeah, I think any and all team members, actually just reminded me that one of my team members still has her Invisalign case, I think pre-COVID. So we're going to step into that when we get back. Because my idea with that anyway was to use marketing and like tell her story and like follow the journey, because she was like newer to our team, and I'll have to do that and get on it. But I never had braces, but my lower teeth with age, I mean, it happens to everybody with age. There's that, you know, mesial drifting going on. And then of course with age, like I've been telling people with cleaning their teeth, I mean, no one likes to have that tartar back there. And if, you know, they're nice and straight, then that's all good. Do you recommend, so when I finished my Invisalign though, because I know myself, I had a lingual bar put in because I just know me, like, and I was like, I'm not going to wear the retainer all the time. So I do those quite a bit for my patients too, just so that they don't have that relapse again, because so many have had ortho and then they go through Invisalign. It's like, you don't want to have to think about that again.
Exactly. No, I like it, honestly, for me would depend on the patient. So what I teach for practices is like, there are patients that you need to sign off that you don't have a lingual wire. Be like, look, I understand that if I don't wear my retainer, my teeth will shift, and we are highly recommending a lingual wire. Please sign this form to say that you will not accept a lingual wire. Most patients will accept it at that point, but that like success really is like long-lasting, healthy teeth. Even if it's the patient's fault that they don't wear their retainer. Like I feel like as, you know, like a professional, I want my patients to have a long-term success. I want them to be happy for a long time.
Right.
And so it's almost like just getting to know your patient and being like, do you think you will wear that retainer forever?
Oh, I do. I get down and
Then
right. Somebody might like attracts like. So many of my patients are just like me, and I can look at them and be like, okay, let's just be real. They're like, yeah, no, get me the bar.
You know, whatever you're gonna do.
Yeah, because we've seen it again and again. Like, and I mean, they're not fun. Of course, now because we're talking about it, my tongue is on it and I'm thinking about it. But for the most part, you know, you don't know it's there. And, you know, if you're coming in regularly for their cleanings and stuff, like no worries at all there. Oh my gosh. So tell me about when you went back for your coaching, like, so, okay, you got all of this like business stuff with this clear aligner coaching that you were doing. And then talk to me about the energy stuff, like the energy. She had on her, I just said, can you just like write up a little blurb for opening? And she had ELI-MP. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Tell me more. And then I said, I'm just going to save it so you can tell us.
Yeah. So basically it was like a part of my coaching course. So I got certified with IPEC, International Professional of Excellence of Coaching. And it was like a very robust program. And then you had the choice to take kind of like an alternate or like an additional certification on energy leadership. And so it's really like this foundational process of being able to understand your own energy in normal everyday life and when you're under stress, and the decisions that you make when you're in that like energy state. And so I know prior to this call, like you said, like when you meet somebody, you can like really feel their energy. Like,
yeah, totally.
Very, very sensitive to people's energy. And I've always had my whole life, people be like, you have such great energy. And I really think it just comes from a place of like kindness, of love, of like like genuine happiness inside of yourself. And so when I started taking that certification, I am now able to like talk to leaders and to organizations that like the leader of an organization or a dentist or an executive, and we go through this assessment so that they can see what their energy actually is like every day under stress in certain situations, and then make changes to it so that they can show up with better energy, with more productive energy, with just like being able to live into their best self more often, if that makes sense.
Well, no, I love it. I mean, but so where I think like that's a mindset shift, like how do you train on that? Or because I agree with you, people will say, my gosh, how are you, you're on Instagram like I am too. So you get questions. It's like, well, how are you so positive all the time? Or how are you, happy all the time? And it's like, well, you know what? No, we're real humans too. And we definitely have been on this roller coaster ride. And yeah, when we show up, like, we have our bad days as well. We all do, right? We're all human beings. But for the most part, I choose to show up that way. And I set my day up for success
exactly
that way. So is that more like what you do? I mean, obviously, like there's so many things out there, right? Like the 5 a.m. morning. There's so many, the productivity journals by, I'm trying to think of his name, who's fabulous. So many people kind of speaking to this stuff. But the energy, like, so how do you have them work on that if they say, well, I'm just not wired that way like you are, right?
Yeah, and that's like the powerful part of like the energy leadership assessment, is because they go through questions on their own, they grade themselves, and then it's almost like creating something that's like intangible to be tangible, because you get a score. And you're like, these are the grades of the energy. So like level 1 is the lowest level of negative energy, which is like victim. It's feeling helpless. It's like apathy. It's like not having like lethargy. And so the highest level 7, is like you see everyone as part of yourself. And there's no difference between you and I. We're all in this together. Like it's very like, peace, love, all of that stuff. And so you kind of like resonate with every like level, like it gives kind of like an idea of what it looks like. And so people are like, yeah, that's what I'm like. And I'm like, okay, well, like, what is that costing you? And what would it mean if you could shift that even just a little bit to go to the next energy level? And so it gives like this really tangible outcome that people can't like ignore and they can't deny. They're not like, no, that's just like not who I am. It's like, no, this is really like what your assessment shows. And you can resonate with this because like this is how you answered it.
So they have to be aware of it. Yeah. But then how do they work on it? Like, what are the steps like for them to step into their better self?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And kind of like the way that I've been able to see success is it's almost like they see it as a game. Like that you either have people that are competitive and they're like, I want a better score. So then they learn how to like shift their mind so that they can have a better score, or they see it as a game where it's like, okay, well, I'm always showing up at level 1. What would level 3 look like? And level 3 is like cooperation. It's working towards a common goal. And so it gives them like tangible steps and like a vision to where they can step into. And so through this assessment, we talk about like, what would level 4 look like? What would level 5 look like? What would that mean to your life? And so you get the buy-in, like when they're like, okay, if I was to show up at level 5 rather than level 1, it would mean that I would see opportunities everywhere and I would be able to find more opportunities and be happier. Be like, okay, what would that actually mean to your life? Well, I'd probably feel more satisfied. Okay, so like, what do we want to do about that? And it provides this like very robust coaching platform that helps people just make these small changes to become a better version of themselves.
And leader and become more successful financially.
Yes, exactly. It's all tied together. I very much believe that.
Oh, billion percent. And like I said, we all go through times and moments. And I do think, that's tremendous. It's tremendous you're doing that, because dentists, we've spoken to this many times, like lonely profession, like I think they get very stuck in the negativity from kind of patients or team. Like if they get in a deeper zone, like it's harder to kind of see that light and get out on their own, or really even maybe know that they are that 1 or 2.
Yes.
Their team knows it, but they may not. So, that is amazing to kind of, I don't know, just thinking of like rainbow, like the rainbow on the other side of the storm, which I speak to a lot, because I definitely hit a zone when I built Soiree and my heart was in another place. It was like I was giving 100 to my practice and showing up, and like 150 actually, like there and all that. And then when I stepped into Soiree, I had a hand injury, so I actually had to step out of the practice. I had another dentist come in for a little bit, but 3 months actually I was out for a thumb injury. It was crazy. But that's when it's where I was born. And I came back to the practice and still gave to them, but they didn't like it. You know, it really made me negative. And I am a very positive person. Like I said, energy is my everything, but that negative energy coming from my team on something that I created that I loved, that was like helping people in our profession. And, you know, and I was stepping into that was very difficult for me, like very difficult to work through. You know, and to that point, like eventually though, like I saw in myself that, you know, as I started to show up, if they weren't going to be on my magic carpet ride, then I was going to scratch, like, and be, you know what I mean? Scratch practice, which I did, and found myself some new team members, and it's, you know, been perfection ever since. And it's been great. So like, that's the other thing when you start showing up, it could be someone too. You have to really look around, because if you're in that place, you may adopt people that come on to your team or on that ride with you, because like I said, like attracts like, and the energy and all. But like if you're evolving and growing and they don't want to grow and fly with you, then, you know, it's time to pivot.
Exactly. And this like energy leadership like assessment allows you to see that energy in other people as well. So like when you came back into practice and like noticed this energy shift with your team, like if you had that kind of like knowledge, you'd be like, okay, they're actually showing up at this level right now, which is not aligning with my level. How can we like work together? Or is this something that like needs to go? But to your point, like I think dentists work a lot of times under a lot of stress, and we show up so differently when we're under stress that sometimes like we just need to know what to be able to do like physiologically to feel better. And so things like eating well, drinking enough water, waking up early enough to like set your goals, or like there are things that you can put into place to like physically feel better in your life. And sometimes like we need those reminders, because stress is physical on our body, and working in a dental practice, you can't escape it. And so having somebody able to kind of like partner with you, see you from a bigger perspective, and then help you make choices or like create systems around your goal, it just like really propels you forward in growth, in health, in like happiness, satisfaction, and like wealth. Like it's all tied in. So
right. Yeah. I mean, perfectionism, like I said, we're all perfectionists in that regard. It's funny when you speak to the one thing about the team is, you know, people don't do well with change. That's very hard for some people. But the food thing, oh my God, I have struggled. Well, one, like I know mindset thing and shifts, because you know, I did that national competition or whatever. Like I set goalposts for that and the goal, and I got it done. I showed up earlier. I ate multiple meals during the day, and I drank the water I was supposed to drink. Now, funny, like prior to that, and even now, you go back like whiplash, like dentists don't, when I am practicing dentistry, and this goes, right, my mom was a dentist, so I've been in dentistry for a really long time. Very rarely, I mean, kudos to those of you that do it, but for me, don't drink water. Don't think to drink water during the day. So I go from my Starbucks, which is right outside my door in the morning, to a glass of wine at night. No water in between, nothing. Rarely running out the door. You know, like, I don't even know if I'm tasting my coffee. Because one thing about like COVID, I was like, God, I'm actually tasting my coffee and like enjoying it. But it's frustrating, you know, sometimes too, because I know I have tried to set myself up for success in that regard. During the time I was training, I had someone prepping food for me, which was the best thing ever. And I actually just spoke to my husband about this recently. Of course, we're coming out of COVID financially. We're like, bleh. But I was like, listen, mindset, right? I'm in this great place. I've got shit to get done. Like I want to have Samantha back in my life, because you know what? My health is my best wealth, and that set me up for success, because my food is my fuel. And I'm back to the same, like, when there isn't anything to find, you know, and then that emotional shift where I'm like, oh, what would make me feel better? Oh, let's have some cookie dough. Like, ew. I mean, yum, but like, I'm done. And if you have to show up in a mental, like you said, it's very stressful. Like if you want to show up as your best self, you need to be in that place. That's one thing with that training I did when I was eating well, drinking, like you said, high performance athlete. I was working out, lifting. I missed that so much. I can't wait for the gyms to open. I mean, that was transformational for me. Yeah. And I, as well, like you, wanted to encourage more women to step in when I've gone out and worked with women. Like, I'm like, just to step back into even weight training. And guess what? Weight training is easy. It's not cardio where you're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be dying and sweating and I have to get on the treadmill. No, strength, and it's transformative what it does. Like you said, mental state as well as your body. And when you've dropped weight, the extra poundage that you're not really supposed to have anyway, you feel like a rock star.
Yes.
I
You're
mean,
more confident.
yes.
You're more like positive. Like it changes everything. And it is like the foundation of your success.
It's neurochemical. So like, to your point, a coach, like if that's what you do, I think it's amazing, because I had a coach, and every single day, like she would show up in my, my thread, and she'd be like, let's get it done. Let's go to war. And I'd be like, yes, I am on fire. Like, let's do it. With that positive spin, because I knew because she was like an IIFB pro or whatever, like, but I couldn't get away with not doing anything, but like having her in my pocket at all times. I had to show up for her. Like, she was my accountability partner. And so was the vision of the stage, and having to be in that little,
that is enough.
But it was in the high heels, right? Like in those high heels. But, it just goes to show, like, to get that done, have 3 kids, have multiple businesses, like, it's what we put our mind to. So like, please, like with a mood or mind shift, whether that is driving in your car. And I told the story the other day too, I got stuck in the car, Andrew's car. Like, I think Joel Osteen was like one of those stations on the couple stations I could have, like, whatever. And I am not religious by any means. Like, I'm a big universe energy person, as we spoke to, and each to their own on everything. But like, the words, the positivity, like, I showed up to work a different human. I was like, hallelujah, woohoo, let's go guys. Like, let's get it on. What are we talking about today? Just because, you've got to, so forget if the news is negative or whatever, you got to find those little things. In the morning, if I can get up to finding that extra time in the morning, like getting up and watching something like Impact Theory, YouTube, just listening to something different even is so good. Journaling, do you journal?
So I have like a very robust morning routine. I'm up at 5. I make my coffee. I journal, affirmations, vision, review my goals, meditate, work out, take a cold shower.
Okay, wait. Oh, hold up. Okay, wait, step back. Oh my God, holy high performer. This is like the high performance. Do you have a high performance journal?
Yes, I do.
Oh my gosh, I almost bought that. I was trying to think of his name. Like, what is his name? Yes, Brent. Oh my God, I love him. I almost bought his journal yesterday online. I think I'm going to now. Okay, if you do it. Okay, I'm doing it. I have so many planners. I was like, would I really look at it and do it? But I want to do those assessments. I think that they would be really good. I've done this thing called Lifebook. It's similar when you look at each category, and I loved that. And I love vision. So that's transformative. But how much time do you give yourself? So if you get up at 5, what does it look like? How much time do you set? 15 minutes for journaling? Like, what are your time sequences?
Yeah, I usually have 15 minutes for journaling, and then I also read. I read for like half an hour. Every morning, because like for me, again, like knowledge, like I'm just like constantly learning something new. So yeah, 15 minutes for journaling. I read for half an hour, but part of my journaling is my vision. Like, I review my vision, I say my affirmations, and then I meditate for 15 minutes. So that like whole kind of bucket will take me an hour.
Okay. So your meditation though, because I feel like you have a brain like I do, like, how do you calm that monkey mind? If you've been like writing and you're in this place, like, and if you still have to go to work, like, how do you find that space where you can take your mind down?
Yeah, I mean, it takes practice. When I got my yoga certification, we had to do this thing called noble silence, where we'd like wake up, couldn't speak to anybody, couldn't look at our phone all morning, and then we'd have to meditate for like an hour. And physically, that hurt my soul. Like, it was so hard. So after doing that for a month, and it got easier, I set a goal for 5 minutes a day. I was like, let me just do 5 minutes. Like, if I can't do 5 minutes, like, and I think like for us too, like, as you are a high performer as well, like, we have this like expectation for ourselves to like get into this like Buddha state where we're just like so zen and we're not thinking about anything, but like that's not reality. And it's okay if the whole time you're meditating, you're thinking about other things, but you're giving yourself this space. So there was a long time where I just didn't give myself quiet time. I was always listening to a podcast, always listening to an audiobook, constantly learning, intaking. And like the moment that I decided to stop doing that, I realized that I could grow faster and like, learn more And so even if it's 5 minutes and you know it wasn't perfect, just commit to that for like a month, and then go to 10 minutes, and then go to 15. And the thing that really like helped me was like, I'm a very visual person, was like I would visualize a routine. Like I would visualize something the same every single time. And that would help me kind of like get into it. And then from there, it was like easier. I think it takes like letting go of being perfect at it and being like, I might just sit here for 15 minutes thinking about what I'm going to post on Instagram later, or the message.
Like, I'm like, oh my God, I've got stuff. Yeah. I've tried it so many times.
It's just like, it's just like committing yourself to doing it.
That's amazing. And then so my husband just started this cold shower thing, dying. Even this morning, he like got close to me so I could touch his skin. I'm like, oh my gosh. Because when I was in there too, he's like, just turn it down or whatever. I was like, no, thank you. Not interested. But he's been doing the, I think his friend like brought him into this, but the breathing. So he's like, does this breathing technique thing in the shower that literally he does not, he's like, he was mind blown when it happened that first day, like couldn't stop talking about it, how it felt warm on his body. And it was literally ice cold through the breathing he was doing. And I don't know. I was wondering what was happening in the shower. Like, my gosh, now his breathing techniques, it's like a daily thing. He loves it. It's like literally helped him a lot with his, like, that's his thing, right? With mindset and everything for him, which has been great. And I love it.
Definitely. Wim Hof is like the breathing.
Yeah, that's what he does. Wim Hof breathing.
Yeah. It's, for me, like it's for my mindset thing. And there are days where like emotionally, mentally, I'm like, I can't have a cold shower today. Like I just can't do it. And that's okay. But most days I will like push myself to do it because I'm like, it's all in my head and I can like control how I feel. So I'm just going to like take this on and do it. And like my fiance just like died. He's like, Allison, like, come on. I'm like, it's warm. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
So cold. And then I come out of the shower and I'm like shivering and he's like, I don't feel sorry for you. And I'm like, it's okay because it was an accomplishment. Like I accomplished this and I feel great.
How do you wash your hair?
I don't wash my hair in cold water.
Okay, I was gonna say, because when we were in Haiti on the last mission trip, I could like get an arm in and like it was so cold, but I couldn't dip my hair. I was like, I don't care how grease ball my hair is, like it's staying in a bun. There's no way I can get my head underneath the cold. Skin I could do. That's like a cold dip, right? Like a pool or something, like splash. And I know it resets your system and it's supposed to be so good.
You feel so invigorated after.
Well, I said to my husband this morning, so when he came out and did that, I'm like, nope, I went for my morning run and I sprinted for 20 minutes, like off and on. So like they say the same thing. If you go and you like sprint, you can reboot your entire system. And it's crazy because you can be in bed and like so comfy, cozy. And that was my thing last week. I was like, gosh, you kind of become accustomed. I'm like, that's it. Need to set, get to bed earlier, just be putting that alarm on, like getting up, which I always wake up before my alarm. I've never woken up to an alarm ever. My mind like will wake me up already knowing it's work mode again. But yet, like I said this week too, I was going to step into, for me, it would have to be like 4 a.m. to get up. And with 3 kiddos, it's hard too, because they're homeschooled, like their time frame has gone way later than it should be. So trying to get them to bed is a lot earlier. And you put that's stress upon itself, just trying to like rein them in when they've been on devices a lot of the day. And I had to let that go too, because they're playing, that's where they're playing with their friends and you can't restrict that. Mm-hmm. And their cousins and everything. So, but it's harder, like, cause it's like the addiction, the crack, right? Like trying to get them off of that. But yeah, everything kind of changes this week as I step back in, but I do want to try to find that morning time for me to do that because I know how important that is. And I have journaled and I'm definitely a vision board person where absolutely every single thing has come off of vision boards. And I already have a big vision, like, and I can see it. And when you see it, you feel it and it happens. It's transformative. And that's why, like, I encourage, you probably do too, like teams to do that. And it's funny because people that haven't done it and they have a hard time kind of feeling it. I'm like, you just like feel it, like let it kind of resonate with your cells so that, it can kind of get that energy out there.
Definitely. And kind of like to your point before, like how people ask, like, how are you always so positive? And how are you like always so this? It literally like, there's systems and habits and daily like small actions that you can choose to do every single day that like literally make you feel positive and they make you feel happy and they make you feel good and they make you feel productive. And it just really is about like finding the system that's going to work for you.
Right.
Choosing to do them, like having the discipline to journal, to decide what you want your future to look like, to decide what your vision is, what your values are, and like taking the time to get to know yourself.
Totally. I mean, just giving yourself, starting with space and giving yourself space, especially for parents. I have always given myself, I'm very independent. My husband knows that and respects it. Like I need space. Cause when you're creative, like you and me, like I'm thinking all the time, I'm creating, I'm growing, and that takes a lot of energy. So, I find like nooks and crannies of time, but like now that I will not have time and I have multiple teams, I have to lead with right brain, left brain, right? So I'm like flipping into like both sides, plus the kids. Like I know absolutely 1,000,000,000% I have to find that time for me. And even if I don't show up journaling, it's that quiet space. Just giving yourself a little bit of quiet space to think about. Yeah, you don't even have to write it down. I mean, yeah, I'm encouraged to, right? Because when you write down, that even goes deeper and resonating for memory and like cell memory and stuff. But yeah, it's huge. And I would agree with you 1,000,000,000%. Everyone should just try to find something, get up a little bit earlier. Even if you're tired, like we said, do some jumping jacks or like cold shower or something like that will change your mindset immediately. Good music, good tunes. Like granted, everyone's sleeping. I hate that in my house because like it'll be dark, everyone's sleeping, and I just want to be like, let's go, woohoo! Turn on Alexa. But if I put on my AirPods, even like, which no one would hear, and just put on some kind of music, that too will like set you like
absolutely
in a good zone.
I know. I have like I do this like 5 a.m. morning routine, and like by the time I'm like finished, I'm just like, so pumped up and ready to go. And like my fiance doesn't wake up until like 7, and we go for a run together after I've already worked out. So I'm like so like hyped. I have to like hold myself back. I'm like, good morning, because he's just like waking up. I'm like energy level 1,200. Yes. He's just like, oh, it's too much.
It's so good. But you know what? My husband too, and I'm sure your fiance is like this, like we could never be with someone like us. So
no, it would be terrible.
He is the antithesis to me. Like he is complete opposite, but but he loves my energy.
Yeah.
Like, it works.
Yes. No, it's so true. I would hate to be with somebody like myself.
He takes me down because he'll be like, just like, a minute. Like I need, it's okay. Like that can wait. I'm like, no, it can't.
No, for real. Like I don't think I ever finished like a movie or finished like a Netflix series or finished like a show ever because I just couldn't focus on it. I was like, oh, this is boring. Now he's like, let's watch our show together once a week and like relax. And I'm like, okay, I'll try.
I'm the same way. There was only one movie during COVID, like that we did sit down to watch. He thought we started watching it. I couldn't finish it again because of like, I'm super, empathic. Like I couldn't, it was the little boy in the pajamas, the striped pajamas. And have you seen that? I mean, it was the saddest. I could not emotionally, like we got towards the end. I was like, this is disturbing to me. Like I've got to like move from this. And so, but I didn't even really want to sit down to watch it, but I wanted to give him the time. Like he thought it would be like a movie. Maybe he had no idea either. But then there was only one other documentary we watched, and it's funny because he ended up getting up because he was like, oh my gosh, which was, I was driving to work and heard someone talking about a documentary called The Circus of Books, I think. Have you heard of that? No. It was the first pornography like bookstore in New York ever. And then, I think, I don't know, one of their sons, it was a documentary, and like one of their sons, it was like illegal back then, and one of their sons was gay, like this whole big thing. I mean, I listened to somebody, radio broadcaster, talking about it, and she was like, it was fantastic. And I love documentaries because they're real, right? Those will keep me engaged. And it was their story. And they're this older couple. They just closed this bookstore in New York just now, because obviously things are digital and, everything now has just gone so far past. And they're this older, little, beautiful married couple that like couldn't tell people back when. And they did it just to keep their family afloat because they had come over from somewhere. And it was good. But that kept my attention that night, straight through. That was the only movie I watched to listen to their journey, their story. I thought it was fabulous. They're business owners. Like, I don't know. It just spoke to my soul, and I thought it was great. But Andrew laughed me during half of that because he was like, oh, I don't know. This is awesome, like good for them. They made it work. Like,
I love
through
that.
school, like this is so good, so good. So yeah, it's interesting with time too, because to your point, I thought over COVID, I have books and books and books and books and books. I see books, I order them on Amazon all the time in stacks. Like here's a big bookshelf. Bookshelves are everywhere. And I just don't take the time. So I do love that. And I may implement that strategy in the morning of giving myself enough time before the phone is looked at and whatever to just read a little bit, because even if it takes me longer, I'll be so accomplished that I got through like one of my awesome books, because there's so much goodness in them all.
Oh my gosh, so much. And I've like dedicated to like reading a book a month. So it's like when you actually put that time aside for yourself and like, I don't look at my phone and I just like sit down with coffee and read, like the first couple times you're like, oh, I feel so tired. But then once you experience it, you become like addicted to that experience of just having the time to yourself. It's so quiet and it's like, it's so peaceful and it's just lovely. So
do you do it at night too? Do you read again at night, half an hour, or just morning?
I fall asleep so quickly when I read at night. So I usually don't get far. I have a different book for nighttime reading that's not like as like right now I'm reading like The Power of like Positive Thinking or something. I read like very much personal development books in the morning. And then at night I read something like a bit softer, like not as like heavy knowledge.
Sure. That's awesome. What time do you go to bed ish?
9:30.
Oh God, that's a dream. I want to do 9:30 because by the time I fall asleep, it'd be 10 and then get up at 4. That's my goal. My body would love that. The kids are throwing me off my A game. There's no quietness in the house. It's a nightmare. And my husband's a night owl. So like he likes to stay up really late, and then he'll want to be next to me because like we don't see each other ships in the night. And so he'll get in bed to watch like Netflix with the iPad. Granted, it's on the like lowest night mode and he has his headphones, and I'll put pillows in between, but like I still know it's there, and I'm like, it's just, I try to put on lavender and try to like, I can't, it's hard.
Yeah, my fiance is the same way. I have earplugs and a face mask because I'm just like, no, like sleep is so important. I need to go to sleep. But he loves to stay up late as well. So
yeah, morning routines. I'm so excited. I am going to, once we get off of this, get my productivity journal, because I know that I've been watching him, like was doing on the treadmill. Like I've watched a couple of segments with him and I love it. And I know that stuff, like I said, the life book that I did was transformational, and I went back through that again. And some of the highest performers were in our group, like House of Cards, the producer for House of Cards was here in Chicago, like at that group, like intimate group. I mean, mind blowing when you give yourself, like I said, a couple days, take a deep dive, bring in pictures, feel it, purpose, vision, mission, like all of it. The music is like right, like everything is right. What a gift to give yourself.
yes.
I actually wanted to do it again, and now they have sold, I think, Lifebook to Mind Valley. And you can do it online now, the same exact program for like $500 versus $5,000 or $10,000 back when. It was more kind of Tony Robbins-esque, but totally different. Not like that. I've been to Tony Robbins Business Mastery, but a lot more intimate. But like if anybody wants to do anything like that, Mind Valley, Lifebook, like I said, it's not only that, it's $500 investment. And I just did this with Andrew. We just stepped back into it. We didn't get it done because, again, it's just one more thing in our toolbox, right? Like I didn't make it happen, but I was like, let's do this. But they'll give it back to you. If they see you've done the modules, they know how good it is. And they said, like, once you finish it, if you decide you want, like, it's okay. Like they're giving it to you for free, but they want you to make the investment to make sure you do it, like show up for your time. And we've actually gifted that to 2 people too, like that have come over that like worked on our stairs and stuff, that had another life as something, and like that we just had deep conversations with, and that it's ended up being transformational for. And
that's amazing.
It's just a beautiful thing for people that are open to it. And it does take some being open to it. So like, and on a closing note, because one thing I just did want to talk about is on your page, your website, you talk about two people that like brought you in. So I saw the art work on your website.
Oh, okay.
And you spoke to, it's called Moongate Limited, and it's like
Mhm.
Bermuda and all that. And the story was beautiful about two people that kind of took you under your wing. When we talk about giving back, or, you know, I know that we're both big believers in that,
Mhm.
that they structured, they were your godparents and your parents away
Yeah.
from home. Were they in the practice, or did you meet them somewhere else? Or are they the artists?
No, they're not the
You or
artists. But when I first moved to the island, like the dentist actually and his partner, they like took me in and just were like I was 19 years old and they were like, you can stay with us for as long as you need to. And they were just so like kind and considerate and like they were one of like the many people on this island that were just like so kind and gave back to me. Like when I moved here, it felt like I moved to like a home. And
love that?
so many people, like they were like, well, let's find you an apartment, we'll help you get a bike. Like, you know, things happen as like a young person, like crash my bike. Like I had people there to go and pick it up, like visit me at the hospital. Like I was able to kind of like step into this community that was just like a family. And so I
Love
was a
it.
part of this like pay it forward initiative. And because I was a part of this company that's like an artist company, sorry, they're yelling at their dog outside.
Okay, because when you turn, I can see the palm trees in your glasses, and I'm loving it.
I was
Oh my
like, the
God.
neighbor's yelling at their dog. So sorry. But they decided to give away like all of this art for Pay It Forward. So like every week on my page or every day on my page, we were just like giving away art to people for 25 days leading up to Pay It Forward Day.
Oh my
So
gosh, I love it.
yeah, so like I really like promote their art because like this couple is just like incredible. This is like their stuff. We
Yeah,
have
it's
like one
beautiful.
all
I know
over
it's
our
beautiful.
house.
I was looking at it, and I was trying to figure out the connection, because I loved your story and how you spoke to it. And I agree with you, but again, we're very aligned in that even when I came to Chicago, I knew immediately, and everything here for me unfolded the same way it did for you. And it felt like home, and still to this day, when I'm flying and I come back, I'm like, I'm home. Like it is still, you know, here.
Yeah.
It's amazing. When you listen to your calling, like if you just knew, you were like, that's where I'm supposed to be, even at 19, that's incredible that you listen, like your gut. When people say your gut instinct, there is something to be said for that, you know, and listen to it. Never defy that, because that was like the same thing here too. I was so comfortable, you know, being comfortable doesn't get you anywhere. So the breakthroughs are where the tremendous growth happens. And I think, like I said, we both experienced it, and we both were talking for a long time before this podcast just about, you know, we're both in this profession, having been in this profession, and really, really, really just like resonating. We just want everyone in dentistry to feel positivity and be in a happy place and more successful, and like, yeah, like have it be more of a hobby than a profession, you know, like show up for work every day and love it, because it should. And if it
Mhm.
doesn't, that's okay too. Then, you know, maybe to have a coach to decide that maybe it's time to make a pivot, next chapter. What is it that will feed your soul? Because it's not about the financials at the end of the day.
No.
So,
And you really can create it. Like I fully believe, like I came from like a very poor family in southern Alberta. Nobody in my family had like traveled, and I like have been able to create this like incredible life for myself. And it took vision, it took hard work, it took dedication. But like whatever it is that you want, dream about it, like decide, and then create it. And it's so possible. So what kind of practice do you want? What kind of team do you want? What kind of like what is your vision for your practice? And I really believe that you can create it.
girl, you gave me goosebumps. I totally manifestation. That's what we're going to leave on. Like you can manifest anything, yeah, you want in this world. Big believer. We've got two of us right here speaking to all of you other dental people. So, and if you want to talk to either one of us, like on it, if you're feeling like you don't know how to get there or low, like please, please, please DM us, reach out. Will you please let everyone know how they can find you, like what your handles are and all that goodness?
Yes. So I have two Instagrams. One is just my first and last name, so Allison Lacoursiere, and then that's for my like high performance, like life coaching, and then my Clear Aligner is your Clear Aligner coach. So you can find me on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. And then if you ever want to just email me, it's allison@yourclearalignercoach.com.
Amazing. And you have a website too, right? Which you can
Yeah,
find in the link tree of your Instagram. But what is the website in case people want it?
yourclearalignercoach.com.
Same. Love it. Keeping the handles consistent, of course. All right. Well, it's an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for taking so much time out of your amazing, beautiful day. You guys, she's in Bermuda. The palm trees are like swinging on the outside of her place. And it looks beautiful. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It was
Until
great to
next
be
time.
here. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you.